Militants in Eastern Aleppo allegedly opened fire on a crowd of civilian protesters. They're killing at least 17 and injuring dozens more. Locals were demanding to be allowed to leave the city's rebel-occupied areas. Anti-Obama protesters scuffle with the police as the outgoing US president arrives in Peru for a major economic summit. And as America's next leader starts to fill key administration positions, we look at three he's chosen so far who all back legal moves against Hillary Clinton. Just turned 5 p.m. here in Moscow. My name's Kevin Owen, live with you from RTHQ here. And our top story today, protesters demanding to be allowed to leave rebel-held East Aleppo in Syria were allegedly fired at by militants on Thursday. It's thought at least 17 people may have been killed and over 40 others injured. From there, reporting next, Igor Zhdanov.
Some 500 residents of Eastern Aleppo have taken to the streets to protest the rule of extremists there. But freedom of expression is not really on the list of rights provided by the various factions controlling that part of the city. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, some 17 people have been killed as extremists opened gunfire at them. And the militants also made sure that those who had fled the violence don't really come back. Here's how the Russian Defense Ministry described what happened in Eastern Aleppo.
The militants dispersed the demonstration, shooting at protesters with machine guns. 17 people died on site, including 2 teenagers. Over 40 people were wounded in total. They also abducted 10 men they considered to have been the ringleaders, and then shot them the same night.
RT, in fact, talked to some residents of Eastern Aleppo, and here's how they described why this keeps happening.
People came out to demand that the terrorists let us leave here. They started killing people. Anyone expressing a desire to leave this part of the city. They don't discriminate. They kill children, women and elderly people.
Many have fled, but there are still a lot of us here. All we want is to leave, to escape the violence. We can't live like this anymore, but they won't let us leave. They guard the humanitarian corridors and fire at those trying to escape. They've killed 28 people.
So really no surprise that the residents of Eastern Aleppo are so desperate for positive change, because the various factions, Islamist factions controlling that part of the city, are known for this sort of everything goes approach to warfare, because they're known for using the residents, using civilians as human shields, and for not allowing vital, crucial humanitarian aid into that part of the city. So people there, the residents there, are left with very little options.
As the situation in Eastern Aleppo deteriorates, more and more calls for protests against the rebels' rule have been appearing on social media under the slogan, "Leave or let us leave." We've asked political experts what could be done to prevent future atrocities.
Terrorists will not listen to any political resolution and any humanitarian voice. I believe that the best way is to resume the military act against those terrorists. It is the only way which should be effective to prevent such atrocities and to put an end to the suffering of hundreds, thousands of civilians there.
The rebels, mainly dominated by al-Nusra Front, are using the civilian population as human shields in Eastern Aleppo. This has been consistent reports all the way through. So this is a tragic event which has happened today and yesterday. It really underlines those reports, and this is an important factor that has just been completely omitted from all U.S. State Department statements. John Kerry, Samantha Power, Boris Johnson, the Foreign Secretary of the UK, and everyone who preceded them in their posts have just been, ignoring this reality. And this is quite a serious thing. This toxic policy that's been adopted, led by Washington over the last 5 years, if this had been curtailed at some point in the last year or two, then we wouldn't have this situation that we're seeing right now. They've been offering a lifeline to these so-called rebels now for far too long. And this is the culmination of it. These are the people that Washington says are fit to govern if they overthrow Bashar al-Assad in Syria. This is how they would govern.